This is Unscripted at 40, Episode 8, Love, Loss, and Letting Go. Hey friends, welcome back to Unscripted at 40. I'm your host, Wen, and today I am sitting with someone who's walked through some real transformation and huge losses with both grace and grit, one of my bestest friends, Lydia, or better known as Lyd, at least to me. We've spent the last almost 10 years walking through some serious life lessons in love, loss, and letting go for sure. So today we're talking about the emotions that don't fit neatly into those little Instagram captions, the grief, the surrender, and letting go of people, patterns, and timelines we once clung onto. And it's so crazy because just knowing that we met at the peak of our 30s, or the beginning, I should say, of our 30s, at the peak of, life and adulthood, to now entering our 40s together and really being able to look back and see the progress and be each other's witnesses to it all. So let's start talking about what grief really looks like. And I'm not talking about specifically the loss of a person, not that type of grief, but the loss of dreams, timelines, and identities. Hey friends, real quick, if you've been thinking about launching your brand, refreshing your business visuals, or just getting your digital ish together, I got you. I offer branding kits, Canva templates, pitch decks, Etsy and Shopify support, as well as custom designs through my creative brand, Wen Designs, and so much more. Everything is done by me, from design to delivery, and I keep my pricing accessible because I know what it's like to build from scratch. You can connect with me on IG at Unscripted at 40 to find out more. Let's bring your vision to life. Hey Lyd, welcome to Unscripted. I'm so happy to have you as our guest today. So before we dive into all the juicy stuff, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, hey Win. So, my name is Lydia. Most of the people that are close to me call me Lyd. So, you'll probably hear that throughout this podcast because Win's my closest girl. So, I live in Oklahoma City, born and raised in Oklahoma. So, I've been here all my life, 40 years. And I'm a mom to a 12-year-old boy. His name is Kingston. And then I'm currently working in a HR background. So I work from home, which has been a huge blessing because it allows, time, like that work balance, so I'm able to be a mom and I'm able to be a caregiver and then I'm able to be, focused on my career, but all from the comfort of my home. So that's about me.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And just a little side note there, I did live in Oklahoma City a few years back, and that is where Lyd and I met. So kind of that's the tie there in case my listeners were wondering where the heck this ties in. But we've been really close, and it's been almost 10 years. I think it'll be 10 years in about September. So
I think you're
that'll
right.
mark
Yeah.
our friendship for 10 years, and we've been through quite the adventure in that time. So let's jump in and start talking about grief and what grief really looks like. And I don't mean grief as in the loss of a person in this case, but also the loss of dreams, timelines, relationships, friendships, identities. I know we've been through it and we both have our shares of stories and had to lean on each other for a lot of these life lessons. So, what would you say, or could you share how grief has shown up for you, especially in this season of our lives now that we're 40?
Oh, girl, I don't even know where to start. So, um, I didn't really learn about grief, right? I didn't understand that you could literally grieve a person that was still in existence. I didn't understand that you could grieve a loss of a friendship. I didn't understand, grieving as a loss of a job. And so I think looking back on my 40 years that I've been on this earth, and especially just being a mom, there's been a lot of growth within me. Seasons are definitely a real thing.
Mm.
I'm not just talking about, spring, summer, winter, fall. I'm talking about literally shedding of seasons within your own self. So, looking back hindsight, I was able to, I was the life of the party. I could go out and, early in my early years, go club,
Mm.
and that was fulfilling. And I was surrounded by people that enjoyed doing that. And then there was a time in my life that I met someone. It happened to be, Kingston's father, and I fell in love. And unfortunately, things did not work out, and he took me literally for a ride
Mm.
of emotional, I don't want to say damage, but I want to say emotional grief, probably. That would be kind of where
Mm.
we're at. Just the unknown, the innocence
Yeah.
of being taken advantage of, and just having my heart, I guess, taken advantage of, I guess you could say, because my heart
Mhm.
was pure and I wanted something so bad. And I ended up getting pregnant, and of course, like that's that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a mom, and that again was a huge reality check because I wasn't surrounded by people that were moms. So my season was becoming a mother and still working and still trying to figure out my own self. But now I'm a new mom, and going through a breakup, and without going into huge detail, it was an awful breakup, but it was, looking back on that, it was something that I am super grateful for,
Mm.
because now I have the tools to recognize when things are off. I have the tools to recognize when things aren't right, and things of that nature. So then, you know, being a mom in general, for the women out there that are, either single parents, single moms, in a relationship, or just, have children, they're married and happy. That's a whole nother roller coaster
Mhm.
of emotions. So that's been a journey for me. Dating while I'm a single mother has been also an experience. Um, you know, Trying to balance that. And you know that.
Yes.
You have been through that with me. Just trying to date and be my own individual self, and then trying to figure it out and what
Mm.
truly I want, but also having to take my son in account for, because he matters as well, because we're a
Mhm.
package deal. And so, I went through a roller coaster of that. And circling back to grief, I grieved a lot of people, and I didn't understand, why things weren't working out when I was doing all of the right things. And,
Mhm.
just going through all of that, um, it's taking me, I'd say 12 years, going on 13, probably a little bit over 13 years now, to land where I am. And I can proudly say that I have grown from all of my experiences. I have
Yes.
grieved people and literally let them go, even when I didn't want to. And, been through some hard relationships, been through some fun relationships, been through, and that doesn't just include men, that includes like friendships. Like
Oh
I've gone
yeah.
through friendships,
Mhm.
like we've seen that where you think somebody's for you and then they're not. And that's just a part of the season, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And, I've landed on my feet, and looking back, because I turned 40 in September, just kind of reflecting of like,
Mhm.
I'm good. Like I made it, I may not be where I'm exactly want to be, but I am definitely where I've prayed I wanted to be. And so I think there's like a quote out there that one day you'll be living in the prayers that you prayed. And that's how I feel today. So,
Oh wow. Yeah. And I
yeah,
love that because I've seen it. I've been the witness to it all,
yeah,
watched you grow from, where we started at to now. And I would kind of going back to your comment about describing the situation of what you felt with going through with Kingston's dad. I would say it was like your very first like real raw heartbreak. I know we've all experienced different types of heartbreaks, but But that one, I would probably say, yeah, part of it was you were like in this innocent phase of your life, and it just like, I guess, one of the rawest heartbreaks there is taking that away. And so, kind of what I was thinking when you were saying that, that's what it made me
Yeah,
think
I
of.
agree. It was very raw. And I think it was raw because it wasn't necessarily the relationship, it was the product of the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I had a baby,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
whole new world. And I think women, and I can't, I get account for women. We fantasize about what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a husband and we're going to have, family that supports us, but they don't talk about the other side of that. And I literally went through the other side of that. And it's very raw, and it's very lonely, and it's very scary, and it's very real. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, because you don't expect it to kind of be you. Like you said, we only hear the one side of like, get married, have the kids, and da 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 da.
Mhm.
But sometimes it
Mhm.
doesn't happen out and it's out of your control completely. It's not like,
Yeah,
you wanted that, but sometimes, yeah, it does happen and end up that way, and no one really talks about it as much as they should,
I
and give
agree.
that insight because it is. I know it's still different when you go through it on your own, but
Mhm.
if it's something that you can kind of send a message out and let other people know like this is real and this is raw, and then you're doing it alone and grieving the relationship aspect of it, and
Mhm.
you're a new parent, a new mom, and dealing with everything that comes with that. It's just the perfect storm for such a massive and major impact and heartbreak in your life.
Yes, totally agree. Do not want to go back to those days. So
Yeah.
if anybody's listening out there, let me be a testimony to just hold on because there's better days coming. There's, your prayer is going to be answered. Your, you know, job, your career, whatever I guess you want your life to align to, it will happen. You just have to be patient.
Yes, 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 and have that faith, keep that faith as well.
Yes, amen.
And, kind of tying my experience with that, grieving so many things simultaneously in the course of, I know the time, especially we've known each other, I feel like that was probably the biggest season of my life and going through a lot of changes and a lot of losses, grieving that version of myself I really thought I would be by this point, by 40.
Hmm.
The certainty of, what I had, my marriage, my job, my home, the future plans I had
Hmm.
that tied all that in. And really just the biggest lesson and takeaway from that, was grieving catapulted me into this healing and this journey of self love and deep, deep, deep work. Not just like, oh, I'm going to the therapist to get over my divorce. No, like, let's dig down to even your inner child and kind of the wounds from that and what
Hmm.
you've experienced and suppressed all these years. And as a result of some of these losses and the grief that came with it, I was pushed into this huge, massive awakening and healing process. And I know, like I said, you've been there, you've seen it, and really just seeing how each part of my life that kind of fell apart almost simultaneously brought me to this point. And I think that's the message here is like, yeah, sometimes we get through these storms and you wonder why they happen, and sometimes you just move on without even a second thought. But I was really forced into seeing and healing and working and cleaning up and really just sitting in the stillness of all of those emotions at once. And I'm here today for that, and because of that. So again, just it's okay to grieve, the relationship, the friendship, the job loss, family loss, and anything in that sense, because it ultimately will push you into something. It'll push you into the strengths and journeys that you didn't know were there. It's the opportunities that you were maybe blindsided because you wanted something to be so bad. But once you're out of it, and sometimes life will take you in a different direction, and you'll find yourself in a better position with bigger blessings, and because you went through that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think going back to something that you said earlier about, controlling the situation, I don't know, those aren't the exact words that you use, but sometimes you just can't. what you think you want isn't what you're supposed to have. And that's what creates, I guess, the storm sometimes, because I think we want to control the situation, or we know what we want, and it's like, why isn't this door opening? Like, I know this is where I'm supposed to be. And that's what I learned.
Oh yeah.
I learned, like, that's not the door for you. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
And I created my own storm. And then I learned very, very fast that you got to sit down. Like, the stillness of, like, what you said, like, it literally will make you sit down and face your own self. And it's not a pretty situation whenever you have to start digging. And when I went through that, like with you, because we've been hand in hand
Mm,
through this journey.
yes.
I saw that with you. I saw the work. I saw the shedding of the seasons, the shedding of the grief, the letting go, the heartbreak, the questioning why, the understanding, the all of the things that go along with that. So you've literally put in the work, and that is truly why you are here today, is to, share your story, to heal. This is a healing
Mhm.
journey. I don't think it ever really truly ends.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not linear, as we always say, and
I know.
absolutely, I know that. Yeah, I've witnessed your healing as well, and I feel like we're on this journey together because we've walked hand in hand, like you said,
Yeah.
and have been able to be a support for each other and get us through
Reeling each
this.
other back in.
Yes. Because sometimes the burden is too hard to bear for others, and
Yeah.
it's no fault to anyone. And sometimes, like you said, seasons with friendships happen, and sometimes, yeah,
Hmm.
it's just the burden is too much. Like we all have our own issues, but if done right, or if the people work together, like we did simultaneously, like here's my shoulder,
Yeah.
here's your shoulder, and we just
Yep.
both walked through it together. But it is so imperative to have support in one way or another with healing. Yes, there are aspects of healing that you have to go through alone, but I still feel like having support is detrimental to that healing
Hmm.
ultimately.
I agree.
And man, you hit it with the knocking on the door, trying to get it to open. Sometimes we see those challenges as, oh, it's just an obstacle in my way to get to what I want.
Hmm.
No, it is a red, huge, blaring flag that we want it to see
That
it.
is not where you're supposed to
Yeah, you're
be.
not supposed to pick the lock to that door. Like, it's not meant to open for you. It's not an
Yeah.
obstacle. It's not saying you need to kick it down.
And
No.
sometimes you stay there, and it's so
Mm,
crazy to look back and you're just like, why did I do that? Like, why? But at the end of the day, the why's always answered. Like, we may not get it. I still have whys out there. Like,
mm.
I still have my whys out there, but I know that I'll get the answer, you know, one day. But I don't dwell on it like I used
Oh,
to.
yeah, that's a big one.
Like, I look back on, like, the relationship that I had with my son's father, and why? Like, I couldn't get over the why. And then one day I just let it go, like,
Yeah.
literally woke up and let it go. And now I know why, because I
Mhm.
am somebody's testimony. I am the other side of the fairy tale. I am the other side of the raw, the real. I can, help other people say, listen, girl, you don't even know. Like, you've got to walk in the park compared to what, I went
Yeah.
through, and I can share my testimony. So
Yes, absolutely.
definitely don't pick the lock.
You're like, I know I can get this to open. I know it.
Hmm.
I know
Hmm.
it. I know it's just this obstacle, this one pesky thing, the lock. No, it's not a door for you. So I agree.
Yep.
And then talking about letting go, I know like letting go doesn't always come in the form of some dramatic goodbye. Sometimes it's just a quiet unfollow, just kind of fizzles out, fades
Mm-hmm.
out. It's just, but it's a sacred boundary, a deep breath, just holding on to that goodbye sometimes for the better, sometimes I wouldn't say worse, but either way, goodbyes look different in every situation and every scenario. And as you kind of touched on letting go, what would you say letting go has looked like for you lately compared to what letting go was in the past or in some of your harder situations in life?
It's such a good question, because as you ask that, like my mind goes everywhere. And the first thing that comes to my mind is I made peace with myself,
Mm.
right? I sat down and said, it is what it is. And you know me, I am not a go with the flow girl. I am not a it is what it is girl. I need to know the answer. I've got questions. And in my mind, I need to know the why. Just answer me and I'll have peace. Or, tell me this and I'll just let you go. Or, what we do. Like women,
Mhm.
it's in our bones. And looking back as far as what it looked like for me and what it looks like lately, it's literally peace within myself.
Mm.
I know that I'm a good person. I know that I'm a good woman. I know that I have a good soul. Like I have a good heart, and you just weren't for me. It wasn't for me. That was not the door that I was supposed to be at. That wasn't the job I was supposed to take. And it's not necessarily a why. It's just,
Mhm.
you just make peace with yourself because you know that there's something better, bigger. Now, you may go through a storm. I'm going to keep it real. You may go through heartbreak. You may go through all of the emotions, but I think it's important to really make peace with yourself. And
Mhm.
that is so easy for you to say. It's not, the work's hard, and but peace is what comes to mind.
Yeah.
Letting go because you have peace within yourself,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. If you know that you have given it your all, if you know that maybe you haven't given it your all and you still want to keep going, but you look at yourself in the mirror and you ask yourself, for what?
Mhm.
What am I doing? What is this going to do? Is this person, is this thing, is this job, is this, season of my life, is it for me or am I forcing this?
Yeah.
What does this give me? And if you can't answer those questions, then you have to sit down and you have to make peace with that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it often like disguises as closure. Oh, but I just need that closure so I can
Yeah.
find peace. Like you don't need that. I think that's often something we
Yes.
tell ourselves that we need that
Oh, I love
closure.
that. Yes, it's so not closure because you're definitely not going to get closure on some things, and
Mm.
then you're picking for straws, like, well, maybe it was this. Well, if I just call one more
Mhm.
time, maybe, they'll tell me why. No, it's
Yeah.
just you got to make peace with it and move on.
Yeah. You want to send that, 10 paragraph message to
Yeah.
just, they're going to get it maybe that if they read this, no, they're going to read it and just shake their head. So
Or
no.
not read it at all.
Yes, or block you. Um,
Or that.
but I agree that finding that peace within yourself, once you
Mhm.
do that in these situations, you don't need to dwell on it. You don't need the closure. You don't need the answers. And I think a very big point you touched on is that you you want the answers, and then a lot of times you just are left with more questions. Even if you do
Yes.
get some of the answers that
Oh,
you are
that's
seeking,
so true.
you will then you just have more questions, and you just keep digging this hole.
Cycle.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
you just go deeper and deeper and deeper, and it just takes you away from the true path, which is healing and letting go and moving
Mhm.
on and just,
Mhm.
going down a different path. And I just feel like, oh my gosh, if, in my younger years, and I wish I would have understood that and or been in a place of peace like I am now to just save myself so many headaches. But again, we know that we had to kind of go through some of those things to learn from. But it just seems so simple now and it's still probably even in situations that I've been in recently, like I know I don't want to say I've perfected it and I'm there, but I will say that, yeah, I might dwell on it for a second, which I think is human nature, and then just move on, but I do not dwell
Mhm.
on it like I did. But it's still not as easy said than done with any situation, friendship, work, relationship,
Yeah.
interview rejection, any of that. Like you still want to
Mhm.
dwell on anything like kind of negative in your life, any kind of anything
Mhm.
that ends or fades away. You still kind of wonder about it a little. But I think the difference is like you find peace in dwelling on it, kind of answering the questions in your head, and taking away what you need to take away from it, and whatever lessons you need from it, and then just letting it go and moving on. So I think,
Yeah, and I think it's important, and I've said this to you before, you're going to have a bad day.
mm,
You may even have a bad week or a month, and it's okay to face that. Like, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to wonder. It's okay. You just have to do that. And then the next day, you just got to boss up. Like, you had a moment, and that's okay. Because still,
yeah.
if I were being real and raw,
Hmm.
I still have my days where I'm just like, wait, what? Like, what happened? And then it's like, I get out of it. But
Yeah.
it's okay to do that because you're
Yeah.
still grieving. You're still healing. It's still a journey and it does not happen overnight. So definitely take days with a grain of salt,
Hmm.
because something may trigger you, something may, a smell or you know, a song or, whatever. Like it may trigger something and you think you're over it, which you probably are,
Yeah.
but you're still grieving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And it's like healing and grief kind of go hand in hand.
I know.
And I think the difference is when you're healed or healing or choosing to heal or be on the healing path,
Mhm.
that's when the peace comes into play.
Yes.
Because grief will
Yes.
kind of keep you down that path of like,
Mhm.
and just that fine line where you cross over and say, no, I choose peace or I want to work towards peace. And if that means completely shutting all of this out of my mind, yeah, there's just so many aspects to it, the emotional
Mhm.
aspect, the mental aspect, the
Mhm.
you know, psychological, everything. It just all
Yeah,
ties
it
in.
ties
There's
together.
so
Mhm.
many pieces of grief and the healing that goes with that. But ultimately, choosing peace does lead you down a path you know, of healing instead
Yeah,
of that
I agree.
dwelling. Oh my gosh, dwelling is the worst.
Yes.
And so, letting go, as we said, is really just basically choosing peace over proving, choosing self
Mhm.
trust over control. Control is so big. Letting go doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you're brave enough to no longer carry what's yours.
Mhm.
And so, kind of with everything that has been said so far, what else has this taught you about yourself, this journey?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I've always looked at myself as the things that I've been through. It's just like a testimony. I'm a testimony to somebody
Yeah.
out there because, as I've stated throughout our conversation, like it's not all rainbows and fairy tales. Like it's real out here. And
Hmm.
I feel like for me, I can only speak for me. Like I feel like I've experienced a lot of real things, like things that really maybe you only see in the movies or you see
Hmm.
on the talk shows. Like
Hmm.
my life is one of those, wait, what? That happened to
Yeah.
you? And it's like, yes, it's real life. So it's taught me self-worth.
Mm.
Um, it's taught me patience. It's taught me independency. And I know that can be kind of a double-edged sword at times, but it has. Like I know how to do things. I'm in a state in my life now where I don't want to have to do things. And so I'm learning to allow myself to let go in some areas. Confidence, like nothing can touch me. I've been through it, even talking to you, like where your world's crumbling and it's crumbling and I hear you, but girl,
Yeah.
like hold on, like do you remember, and even with you, like with your growth, like you can look back whenever my world crumbles and you can say it's just a storm, like it's
Hmm.
going to be okay because we're going to come out on the other side. So there's a lot that goes in to what it's taught me. I mean, the list could go on, but I would definitely say strength, confidence. I just feel grounded and rooted. My moral compass really hasn't changed. In previous relationships that I've kind of altered that to be in a relationship and it never felt good,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's okay to say no. It's okay to decline the date. It's okay to stop talking, It's okay to walk away. But yeah, there's a lot. I could
Yeah.
go on, but definitely those key points that I touched on.
Yeah, and then just being a testament to resiliency. I mean, just being a single mom, bringing a child into this world and having to figure it out on your own, and with every day being something different, and then just knowing that you have to care for someone else
Mm-hmm.
24/7. That is a big deal to go through. Even just take away all the emotional turmoil
Mm-hmm.
and relationships and everything that kind of came along the way with it. I still feel like resiliency is just, it speaks volumes with you, because to have watched you, your son was 3, and to see him into the, amazing young man he is becoming, just, speaks volumes, because you could have went a whole different direction. You could have, just lost yourself
Mm-hmm.
completely, but you knew you had to keep pushing forward for him. And because you knew that no one else would if you didn't, and for the love of him and the love of being a mom, and the fight you had inside of you. I mean, that's just a big testament to that. So that's what I would say would be the answer. As like, you're one of the
Oh,
most
well,
resilient
thank
people I
you.
know. Yes, because it's a
Oh,
lot. Just
it
watching
is a
you,
lot. It
and
is a lot.
and now seeing you at the place you're at now brings me so much joy, because I know that you have fought long and hard and have had
Mm-hmm.
to untangle things. You've had to grieve, you've had to heal, you've had to, get up, fall back, get up, fall back. And then just knowing that one day you were like, you know what, I know I deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
And you've proven that time and time again. So
Thank
that's
you.
certainly something that I, value in our friendship, because I know that with you being so resilient in your own life, that you will help me, become resilient as well. So I've learned that every time I let go, I make space for something more aligned. And for example, this job, losing that career, and how hard I work to get into that job, into that, career, and how hard I work to push forward with it and move around, losing that, and then just letting go of the idea of, like, having that security and stability. I was able to finally see it from the perspective of, okay, well, it made room for my master's degree. It made room for me to build up my business and get into entrepreneurship. It made room for me to open up this podcast and really have a space for those around me to share their experiences as well as my own experiences. So letting go has really cleared up a lot of, I guess, baggage, a lot of things I needed to heal. And it's taught me that letting go isn't the end. It doesn't mean that life is over or that I don't have anything better coming my way. It's just an invitation to trust, to rise, to become. So before we end our conversation that I have loved having with you, is there anything you would like to share with our listeners today?
I don't know. I feel like this is it's been very enlightening because I haven't really sat with my feelings or my thoughts or, had this conversation in a really long time because, life looks different today. But
Mm-hmm.
I think for those that are listening and, going through life, because it is a journey and there are ups and downs and there are many roadblocks that you're going to face. I think understanding that you are in the driver's seat, you do have the tools. You just sometimes you just have to look at yourself in the mirror, which is really hard. Like that's a really hard thing to do
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want it to be our fault. We don't want it to be us. And sometimes it is us. Maybe we did lose that job because we weren't performing like we should have. Maybe we did lose that relationship because we were doing too much.
Yeah.
Like we're doing wifey things when we're dating. Don't do that because you're going to put yourself in a situation for heartbreak. And
Mm-hmm.
so the takeaway here is life is literally unscripted, no pun intended. And it's important for you to give yourself grace. It's important to continue to be your own individual. It's important to look at yourself in the mirror and really dig down and look at what you truly want. Do you want to be married?
Mm-hmm.
Or is life telling you that you should be? Is your parents telling you that's the way that it should be? Do you really want children? Or is that just something that's been instilled in you because you come from generations after generations of children?
Yes.
It's okay to be different. It's okay to not know. It's okay to explore. It's okay to have the heartbreak. It's okay to have the testimony. We are not perfect. God did not design us to be perfect.
Mm.
Um, he designed us to be our own person. And I
Yeah.
think if you can take anything away from that, it's be you always. Be
Mm-hmm.
always true to yourself. Never put yourself in rooms where you're comfortable, because if you're in those rooms, then you're in the wrong room. You
Mm.
know, get uncomfortable, get out there and explore and learn about yourself. Um, and the time will come whenever everything really truly falls into place.
Yes. Oh my gosh, those are such wise words that I wish younger me would have listened
Oh,
to.
I know. Where were we when we were
I
20?
know, I know. So hopefully, like we said, someone out there maybe stumbles across this or just, gets curious and maybe yeah, it'll reach the right ears because sometimes, yeah, while we have to learn lessons on our own, sometimes it does help to have kind of a neutral outside source give you
Hmm.
some guidance.
The other thing that I want to add too, I think is important, and I think you would agree, is you have to be surrounded by people that are truly for you.
Yeah.
You know, I think in today's society, being around, like, we'll just say, your followers, whether that's on
Hmm.
TikTok, social media, whatever it may be, um, how many people are truly there?
Yeah.
You may have 1,000 friends and it looks great, but you got to surround yourself with people that truly are for you, that you know, are not a yes person.
Oh
Like,
yeah. That's huge.
Wynn and I are very transparent with each other. I will disagree with her. She will
Hmm.
disagree with me, but it's all in love and it's all in
Yes.
respect. And it's never, what would be the word? I guess disrespect.
Yeah.
It's
It's
very like,
mhm.
I see what you want, but you're not going to get there doing this. So can we do it like this instead?
Yep.
And that's really been something that I hold our friendship to the highest standard, because I know when I mess up. And I know that
Hmm.
I've got to answer to Win, and I know that she's going to be like, yeah, I don't really like that. Like, this is the way that it should be, and this is why. So truly surround yourself with people that support you, and in every avenue.
Yeah.
Not a yes woman, not a no. It's literally, having that support group that lifts you up whenever you're down, that corrects you when you're wrong, that loves on you when you need it most, that,
Yeah.
you know, sees what you truly want and what you're striving for, and like points you in the right directions.
Yeah, and kind of on the adverse side of that, it's like you don't want a negative Nancy, somebody that is,
Yeah.
low key, passive aggressive, or hating when you need them to be supportive, and you're already down. They don't need someone to kick you while you're down. So I
Mhm.
think it's very
Mhm.
important to find the right balance because I know I can be Delulu a lot of times. And I
My
am,
fish.
yes, I am certainly the one that goes with the flow. So, and that's funny because it's also, we balance each other out in so many ways, not just our astrological signs, but just in life in general, because you will reel me back in when I am
Mhm.
way out there being Delulu and just kind of going off in my own world. You will kind of bring me back to reality to say, hey,
Mhm.
this is not it, and this is not in your best interests, and
Mhm.
I need you, or I need you to speak up. I need you to be a voice for yourself. So you've been there with,
Yeah.
and I think it's important to have people like that, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
It's a huge thing,
I
because
agree.
sure, being you can do things yourself, but you also don't want to, not have support in that. So I agree. That's a good point
Mhm. Yeah,
as
I
well.
agree. And I think that's why our friendship has lasted so long. Like, we've gone through a lot of things. We've gone through ups and downs, and we've gone through periods where we may not talk as much, but it's not because of any other reason except maybe you're just
Hmm.
going through a season.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm just going through something, but it doesn't have anything to do with our
Yep.
friendship. And I think another thing to add is that's that's the seasons, right? You're gonna
Hmm.
the friends that you think you have are not going to be the friends that are going to be with you through everything,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's finding that support group, it's finding those like-minded people, it's finding, you know, those types of people that are going to support you.
It's easy to get lost in a certain group of friends, especially, yeah, like you said, in your younger years, you're young, you want to get out, you want to party, you want to do this, you want to do that. So it's easy to surround
Hmm.
yourself with people that don't have your best interest or, may not necessarily, give you the best advice, So
Agreed.
it's
Hmm.
important as you grow, so do your friendships. And whether that means you leave someone behind and pick up someone new, or you evolve together as friends, I feel like that's another point and important life lesson as
I
well.
agree.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a refreshing conversation, and I really have
I
enjoyed
know.
it so much. And I know, and I feel like just like our phone calls,
That's what I was fixing to
we just keep it
say.
going and keep it going. So it's certainly hard to kind of end this here, but I know there'll be more episodes. I will love
Yes.
to have you as a guest on, but certainly, and I know that's the beauty of us as well, is that, yeah, time might go by, but when we pick up that phone and get on the phone together, it's just like we don't skip a beat, and that's
At
the
all.
beauty of it as well. So as much as I hate to kind of cut this short and wrap it up, I want to thank you again for being a guest on here and being so vulnerable and raw and real with our listeners, because I know that's sometimes not easy to do. We are programmed to be ego based and not open or vulnerable. So thank you for sharing your story and your knowledge with us today.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
So letting go isn't the end. It's the invitation to trust, to rise, to become. I'm so grateful for having Lydia on here today and openly sharing about her experiences with love, loss, and letting go. So if this spoke to you, please share it with someone who's also learning to release and rebuild. And don't forget to check out my website, wendesigns.online, for intentional digital tools to support your journey. Until next time, friends, let it go, let it be beautiful, and don't be afraid to go off script.